I thought I was going to propose to her after med school, but instead I watched her kiss another guy in the woods, just steps away from our campfire. My name's Brian, and I've been with Emily for close to 3 years now. We met during one of those college mixer nights. Nothing fancy, just a packed house full of students, music, and cheap drinks. I'm majoring in software engineering, and she's deep into med school, working hard toward becoming a doctor. Emily's always been sharp, driven, and honestly a little closed off at times. But I figured that came with the territory. Medical school's brutal, right? Demanding schedules, non-stop pressure. I kept telling myself that's why she seems so distant sometimes. It never crossed my mind to doubt her. We've been juggling a long-distance relationship because of school, different cities, different campuses, but we made it work. Most weekends one of us would make the trip. It wasn't easy, but I believed in us. We had a plan. Move in together after she graduated, maybe start building a real life. I really thought we were headed somewhere good. But over the last few months I started picking up on changes. Subtle ones at first. Emily was glued to her phone more than usual, constantly texting, her screen lighting up non-stop. When I'd ask who she was chatting with, she'd shrug it off. Just a friend from class, she'd say. I wanted to trust her, so I pushed the doubt aside. But the way she shut down any real conversation about it? That started to get under my skin. Then something happened about a month back that I haven't been able to shake. She'd asked me to fix something on her laptop. Tech stuff isn't really her thing, and while I was helping her, a browser tab caught my eye. It was open to a dating site. My heart just dropped. For a second I stood there frozen, not knowing what to make of it. I didn't confront her, not right away. I kept telling myself maybe it was nothing. Maybe she'd clicked it by accident, maybe she was helping someone else. But deep down I knew that wasn't the truth. The days after that were a blur of anxiety. I kept checking my phone, waiting for some sort of message or sign that would make it all make sense. I was desperate for reassurance. But what I got instead only deepened the pit in my stomach. Emily's behavior got weirder. She'd go hours without replying to messages, saying she was drowning in textbooks, but then she'd head out late at night for these vague errands. I tried not to spiral, but I felt like I was being toyed with. It was like I was living in two worlds, the version of our relationship I thought we had, and whatever was actually happening behind my back. That dating site discovery kept echoing in my head and I couldn't shake it. I started feeling physically sick. You ever get that? Where your stomach knots up and everything just feels off, but you're still clinging to the hope you're imagining it. A couple of weeks later, Emily came to spend the weekend with me. I tried to push everything aside and just enjoy having her close. But even then she felt distant. Her phone was practically an extension of her hand, and the conversations we used to have about our future? Gone. She barely looked at me, and when she did, it was like she was somewhere else entirely. We'd planned this weekend trip with some friends, camping by a lake we'd always talked about visiting. For a bit it felt like things might be okay again. Sitting around the campfire, laughing with everyone, I tried to convince myself that maybe the stress of med school had just put us both in a weird place. But while we were sitting there, Emily sat across from me, her eyes fixed on her phone. And every time it buzzed she smiled, not just any smile but one I hadn't seen in a while. A private kind of smile. The kind meant for someone special. I knew that look. I just knew it wasn't meant for me. That night, when everyone turned in, I lay there in the tent unable to sleep. Her phone kept buzzing. My heart was pounding, my head spinning. I did something I wish I hadn't. I checked her phone while she slept. I know it wasn't right, but I couldn't take the not knowing anymore. There were messages. A guy named Nathan. And they weren't innocent. Flirty exchanges, private jokes that clearly had history, and talks about meeting up again. My heart broke right there in that tent. I scrolled through for a while, just staring at message after message that confirmed what I'd feared. It was like I'd stumbled into someone else's relationship, one that existed alongside mine without me knowing. I didn't know what to do next. Was this Nathan someone from her past? A rebound? Something new? Everything went blank in my mind. I just closed the phone, put it back where it was, and lay there staring into the darkness, feeling everything I thought we had slipping through my fingers. The next morning was even worse. I'll tell you about that soon, because what happened next only deepened the wound. But if anyone here has gone through something like this, how did you deal with it? How did you confront it? I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something I can't undo. I tried to keep it together, to pretend like everything was normal. What choice did I really have? I couldn't blow up the whole trip in front of all our friends. So I played the part, laughing when I had to, nodding when someone spoke to me, but inside I was falling apart. Every time Emily smiled at me or held my hand, it felt strange, almost rehearsed. She was physically there, but something in her was long gone. And that phone, always in her hand, always lighting up, like she couldn't bear to let it out of her sight. After the hike, we came back to camp for lunch, and that's when it all started unraveling fast. Emily kept slipping away, making excuses to take calls, or check something real quick. It wasn't super obvious to everyone, but I was watching her like a hawk. Too closely, probably. But I couldn't stop myself. Then out of nowhere, Jake, my best friend since high school, pulled me aside. He could tell something was off. "Dude, what's going on?" he asked, his voice low, eyes searching mine. "You've been weird all morning." I hesitated. I hadn't told anyone yet. I didn't even know how to say it out loud. But I couldn't bottle it up anymore. "I saw some stuff on Emily's phone," I finally said. "She's been messaging some guy. It wasn't friendly." Jake's expression shifted immediately. Anger flashed across his face. "What kind of stuff are we talking about?" he asked, his jaw tightening. "Flirty stuff. Plans to meet." "I don't know all of it, but it doesn't feel innocent." Jake put a hand on my shoulder, steadying me like he always did when things got rough. "Man, you can't let that sit inside you. You need to talk to her. Just, not now. Not here." I nodded, but inside I knew the dam had already cracked. I was barely holding it together. I wasn't sure I could wait much longer. That evening, everything came crashing down. After dinner, everyone grabbed a drink and wandered over to the lake. It was supposed to be a laid-back night, relaxing by the water under the stars. But I wasn't relaxing. I couldn't stop watching Emily. Every move, every glance at her phone, I noticed all of it. Then she stood up, said she needed to grab something from the car, and started heading back toward the tents. Something inside me broke. I followed her, staying just out of sight, using the trees for cover. My chest was tight, heart hammering in my ears. She stopped near the tents, pulled out her phone and smiled at it, really smiled like she just heard from someone she missed. Then I heard it, a man's voice. And that's when I saw him. Nathan. I'll never forget the way she looked at him. The way she lit up when he appeared. The way she leaned into him. And then she kissed him. Right there. Right in front of me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I felt like the whole world tilted under my feet. My brain kept screaming at me to leave, to get out of there, but I was frozen, stuck watching the girl I thought I'd build a life with wrapped up in someone else's arms. They started walking, heading down the trail toward the lake, into the more private area near the rocks and waterfall. That place, that was our place. It was where Emily and I used to go when we needed to talk, when we just wanted peace. Seeing her take him there, God, that hit hard. I followed them, keeping my distance, not sure what I was even doing. Maybe I needed to see it with my own eyes to believe it. Maybe I just needed to break. When they reached the clearing, I hid behind the trees, heart pounding so loud I was sure they'd hear it. I watched her laugh with him, my laugh. That soft, real one she used to save for me. Then she began to undress. Shirt first, then shorts, until she stood there in her underwear, smiling at him like he was her whole world. That was it. I snapped. I don't even remember running out. 1 second I was watching from the trees, and the next I was behind them, shouting. "Back off." I yelled, my voice tearing through the stillness. Nathan turned just in time for my fist to land square on his jaw. He stumbled back, hit the rocks, and went down. He groaned, holding his face. I didn't care. All I saw was betrayal. Emily screamed and scrambled for her clothes, but I couldn't even look at her. All my focus was on him. "You thought I wouldn't find out?" I shouted, stepping forward. "You thought you could sneak around and I'd never know?" Nathan didn't respond. He just stared at me, blood dripping from his mouth, anger flashing in his eyes. I raised my fist again, ready to hit him a second time, but Emily jumped between us, clutching her shirt to her chest. "Brian, stop," she cried, her voice trembling. "Please, just stop." I stood there, staring at the girl I thought I'd spend my life with, and now she was shielding the guy she'd been sneaking around with. That image will never leave me. It slammed into me like a truck. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was real. I'd lost her. She wasn't coming back. I stepped back, breathing hard, my fists clenched tight as my chest heaved. "How long?" I asked, and my voice cracked as I said it. "How long has this been going on, Emily?" She didn't say a word. Her lips didn't move, her eyes didn't meet mine. She just stood there, frozen. In that moment, it hit me harder than anything else. This wasn't the girl I fell in love with. That person was gone. All I saw now was someone I didn't recognize. A stranger. I kept staring at her, hoping, maybe foolishly, that she'd say something, give me something. But the silence between us said everything. She couldn't even bring herself to speak, and honestly, I didn't want her to. I didn't want more excuses. I didn't want her lies. I turned and walked away, leaving Nathan still sitting in the dirt, and Emily there clutching her clothes, half-dressed and looking nothing like the woman I once believed in. I didn't say another word. I didn't have any left. The forest blurred around me as I made my way back to camp. My body was moving, but my mind felt miles away. I couldn't believe what had just happened, what I'd just seen with my own eyes. The forest was dead quiet, the only sound coming from the crunch of leaves beneath my feet. With each step, the weight in my chest grew heavier. How was I supposed to walk back into that camp, like nothing had just been shattered? When the campfire came into view, flickering softly in the night, I could see the rest of the group laughing, chatting, totally unaware of the wreckage that had unfolded just a short walk away. But then I noticed Jake coming toward me, his face tight with concern, his steps fast and urgent. "Brian," he called out, his voice cutting through the night. "Man, I was just about to come looking for you." I stopped in my tracks. I was still numb, still trying to process it all. "What is it, Jake?" My voice was flat, hollow. He slowed as he reached me, studying my face. "You okay, man? You look rough." I gave him a small nod, but I didn't bother hiding the pain in my eyes. "What's going on?" Jake glanced over his shoulder like he didn't want anyone else to hear, then leaned in closer. "Look, I hate to pile on right now, especially after everything, but something happened while you were gone." My gut clenched. I didn't say anything. I just waited. Jake shifted uncomfortably, clearly wrestling with the weight of what he was about to say. "This isn't easy, man. But there's been talk about Emily." The guys were saying things. Stuff I didn't want to believe, but... My blood ran cold. "What kind of stuff?" He hesitated, exhaling hard. "Brian, she's been with other guys. Not just Nathan. Other guys from this trip. Some were just kisses, but others, it went further." I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened like a vice. "You're serious?" He nodded slowly, regret heavy in his eyes. "Yeah. And that's not all. Someone sent a video, an anonymous message. It got passed around. It's Emily. With one of the guys. It's explicit." I stared at him, stunned. "A video?" I repeated, barely able to believe what I was hearing. Jake looked away like he couldn't even look at me. "I didn't want to be the one to show you, but I also didn't want you to walk back into camp and find out in the worst possible way." He pulled out his phone, hesitating before offering it to me. "You don't have to watch it, but it's out there, man. I figured you should know." My hands trembled as I reached for the phone. I didn't want to see it. Every part of me screamed not to. But some bitter part deep down needed confirmation, needed to face the truth I'd been running from. I tapped the screen and there it was, Emily with one of the guys from our group. Grainy footage, dark and shaky, but clear enough to see what was happening. Made my stomach churn. But I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I just handed the phone back to Jake without a word. I was past the point of being shocked. "I don't care," I said softly, my voice empty and flat. "I just saw her with someone. Not one of the guys from camp. A stranger. Someone named Nathan." Jake's eyes widened, stunned. "Wait, are you serious? You caught her?" I nodded slowly, my eyes fixed on the dirt beneath my feet, as if it held the answers I couldn't find in my own head. "Yeah, just before you found me. I followed her out into the woods. She was with him, and they were about to do something. I lost it." I snapped. Jake looked like he was trying to catch up, like his brain was short-circuiting from everything unraveling all at once. "Man, I don't even know what to say." "Me neither," I muttered, my throat dry. "It's done. All of it's over." Just like that, everything around me felt hollow. Every plan, every memory. I didn't even know where to start picking up the pieces. I couldn't stay at that campsite a second longer. The lake, the trees, the tents, they all felt like they were closing in, pressing against my chest. What I'd seen with Emily had already cracked something inside me. But finding out some of the same guys I'd trusted had been part of it too? That was the final blow. I moved on instinct, throwing my stuff into my bag with no real thought, just pure urgency. My mind was buzzing, scrambled like I was underwater and every sound was muffled. The laughter from the others at the fire in the distance felt like needles in my ears. They were laughing, living while I was unraveling. Jake caught up to me by my car, trying to stop me, worry written all over his face. "Brian, man, don't do this. You should talk to her first. Get some closure. Something." I couldn't even look at him. I didn't want to see the pity. "What's there to talk about, Jake? She's been sleeping with other guys. Some of you, maybe all of you. And none of you said a thing. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Jake flinched, his jaw tightening. He wasn't part of it, Not directly, but he'd known. They all had. And no one had the guts to say a word. I should have told you, he admitted quietly. I didn't know it was like this, but I should have spoken up. I turned to him then, my voice rising with all the bitterness I'd tried to keep in. Yeah, you should have. You all should have. Instead, you let me keep showing up, acting like everything was fine while the girl I loved was doing this. With people I trusted. Jake's shoulders slumped, guilt written all over him. I didn't want to get involved. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Well, you're involved now. Every single one of you is. I yanked the car door shut and turned the key. I couldn't stand to be there one more minute. As I backed out of the clearing, I looked toward the fire, just once. Everyone was still sitting around it, acting like nothing had happened. Like they hadn't just torn my entire life to pieces. I drove off into the night, but it didn't feel like I was going home. It felt like I was leaving everything behind. Emily, my friends, every single part of my old life. Gone. The drive back was a haze. I don't even remember most of the road. My head was filled with images I didn't want. Emily kissing Nathan, laughing like she used to with me, the grainy video Jake showed me, the voices, the betrayal, the lies. It all swirled around like a storm that wouldn't let up. When I got back to my apartment, I walked in, dropped my bag, and collapsed onto the couch. I didn't even take my shoes off. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling while the silence pressed down on me. I couldn't escape it now. Emily had shattered everything. And the people I thought had my back? They'd let it happen. Worse, they'd been part of it. Hours passed. I didn't move. I just lay there, hollowed out. The betrayal cut deeper than I could ever explain. But the longer I sat with it, the more something else started to burn underneath the pain. Anger. Emily had lied to me. Over and over. She painted herself as this perfect student, the good one, the future doctor with a clean conscience and driven heart. But behind that image was someone who didn't care about the damage she caused. Someone who let me love her while she toyed with my trust. And I realized, I couldn't just let her walk away from this like nothing happened. So I started planning. I went through my phone, pulling together everything I had. The text she sent Nathan. The anonymous video that got passed around. The messages I'd seen between her and the other guys. There was no shortage of proof. Every piece told the story she tried to bury. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. But I knew one thing, she wasn't going to keep hiding behind that mask forever. But I didn't stop there. I couldn't. Just exposing what she did to me in private wasn't enough. I needed the truth to follow her everywhere. So, I created a fake profile on that same dating site where I'd first caught her cheating. I uploaded one of her pictures. Nothing scandalous, just a clear photo where she looked like her usual sweet self. Then I wrote out everything, how she'd used that platform to meet guys while in a relationship, how she was with multiple men behind my back, and I attached the video too. Once the profile was up, I shared the link. I sent it to her classmates, her med school group chats, even her professors. Emily always took pride in looking like the golden girl, the future doctor with a clean slate and a strong moral compass. I made sure they saw the other side of her. The side that lied, cheated, and used people like they were disposable. I know it was brutal. I won't pretend it wasn't. But after what she put me through, after how she gutted me, humiliated me, I needed her to feel the consequences. The next morning, I didn't hear a word from her. Not a text. Not a call. But around noon, my phone started blowing up. People messaging me nonstop, some angry, some shocked. Her friends were split. A few of them defended her, calling me bitter or spiteful. But others, they weren't so sure. Turns out I wasn't the only one who'd noticed things didn't add up with her. One message stood out. It was from someone in her med school class. They told me the video had made its rounds through their group and people were stunned. The girl who always preached discipline, loyalty, integrity, suddenly she wasn't so untouchable anymore. And then, late in the afternoon, she finally called. Emily was screaming, furious, calling me every name she could think of. Accusing me of destroying her life. But I didn't yell back. I didn't even raise my voice. I didn't ruin anything, I told her. You did that the moment you decided to betray me. She went quiet just for a second. Then she hung up. But I didn't feel guilt. Not even a sliver of it. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had a little bit of closure. She didn't get to walk away untouched. I made sure of that. I figured that would be the end of it. I thought things might finally settle. The rage inside me had dulled to a low simmer, and I was starting to feel the faintest sense of peace. Emily was out of my life for good, and everything she built, her image, her lies, had started to crack. But just when I thought the worst was behind me, the world hit me with one last blow. It was early morning. I was half awake, sitting on the couch with a mug of coffee when my phone buzzed. I ignored it at first. I figured it was more noise from the fallout. But the buzzing kept going. I glanced at the screen and saw Jake's name. I answered, my voice still heavy with sleep. Hey man. What's up? His voice came through fast and shaky, nothing like the calm Jake I knew. Brian, you need to sit down, man. My chest tightened. What? What's going on? He paused and then it all spilled out. Emily's pregnant. I froze. My grip on the phone went limp. What did you just say? I just heard it from a few people from the trip. She's been telling some of her friends. She's known for a while but kept quiet. She doesn't know who the father is. I couldn't breathe. Pregnant? No. No way. My heart started pounding, my mind jumping back to those last few weeks before everything unraveled. All the times we were together, it was possible. Too possible. Jake, are you sure? Yeah. She told people directly. And Brian, there's a chance it could be yours. The world spun around me. Everything I thought I'd left behind came crashing back down like a wave. Pregnant? After all that betrayal? And now there was a chance I might be tied to her for life? What is she saying about it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She doesn't know, Jake said. She admitted she was with you, Nathan, and a couple of others around the same time. It's a mess. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, hands shaking. My thoughts were scattered, spinning in every direction at once. This was supposed to be over. I had already buried that chapter of my life. But now it was back. In the worst way imaginable. I need to talk to her, I said, barely even thinking. I need to know the truth. Jake was quiet for a second, then said, yeah man. I'm sorry. I didn't want to be the one to drop this on you, but you need to deal with it. I hung up the phone without another word. I sat there for a long time, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of what just hit me. Pregnant. And it might be mine. Everything else had been betrayal. Babe. But this was something else entirely. Let me know when you're ready to keep going. Later that afternoon I called Emily. I didn't think she'd actually pick up, but she answered by the second ring. Her voice came through calm, a little too calm, like she'd been rehearsing this moment. Brian, she said softly, like she already knew why I was calling. I figured I'd hear from you eventually. I didn't waste time. Is it true? Are you pregnant? There was silence on the line, long enough that I thought she might hang up. But then she sighed. That's what I've been telling people, she admitted. But it's complicated. Complicated? I repeated, anger starting to rise again. What does that mean, Emily? Either you're pregnant or you're not. Another pause, then her voice dropped lower. I haven't taken a test yet. Haven't gone to a doctor. I didn't know how to explain everything else. So I said that. I stared at the wall, stunned. So you made it up? You pretended to be pregnant? To cover up what? Cheating on me with multiple guys. I didn't know what else to do, she whispered. I panicked. I thought, maybe if someone believed I was pregnant, they'd stay. And there it was, the truth laid bare. She had been trying to trap someone. Me, Nathan, whoever. Anyone she thought might not leave. She used fear as leverage, hoping it would make someone stick around. I tightened my grip on the phone, trying to keep my voice level. So you lied. You made up this story because you couldn't face the fallout of what you did. You wanted someone to stay, even if it meant manipulating them. She started crying, soft and messy, but I didn't feel bad for her. Not anymore. I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't want to lose everyone. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Well, you did, I said coldly. You lost everything. No one wants anything to do with you now. And me? I'm done, Emily. You're on your own. There was a brief silence, then a trembling, Brian, please? I didn't let her finish. Goodbye, Emily. And I hung up. I sat there holding my phone in my hand, staring at the screen. And for the first time in weeks I felt relief. It was over. Really over. She had tried to twist the truth, tried to cling to something that wasn't real, but in the end, all she had left were her lies. No guys. No pity. No sympathy. Just the mess she made. I stood up, let out a long breath, and felt something shift inside me. I was free. Free from her, free from the weight she dropped on my shoulders. The chapter with Emily was closed, sealed shut. The following weeks were slow but healing. Life didn't bounce back overnight, but piece by piece I started to find myself again. I dove into my studies, reconnected with the people who really mattered, Jake being one of the few who stuck by me. As for the rest of that group, I let them go. Whatever friendships we had were over the moment they chose silence over honesty. I started appreciating the quiet moments. Simple things, like morning walks, long nights with my laptop, the occasional beer with someone who didn't make me question everything. It was like learning to breathe again after being underwater for too long. As for Emily, I heard little things now and then. Rumors that she dropped out of med school. That she stopped showing up to classes. Her perfect image? Shattered. Her support system? Gone. She tried reaching out a few times, texts, missed calls, but I never responded. I blocked her. I didn't need to reopen wounds that had finally started to heal. Eventually, her name stopped coming up altogether. It was like she had faded into the background, the way things do when they're no longer part of your story. And one night, as I sat on my balcony with the city stretched out below me, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the chaos, it didn't control me now. I'd survived it, learned from it, grown because of it. The scars were still there, sure, but they didn't define me. They reminded me of what I'd been through and how far I'd come. I took a deep breath, the cool night air filling my lungs, and for the first time in a long time, I smiled. I was at peace. Emily? She was just a story I'd lived through. A painful, brutal chapter, but one I had finished. And now I was finally turning the page.